Hello, everybody, and welcome to Where's Babs, the podcast. I am so pleased to have a colleague and friend, John Schmitt. John and I knew each other in Chicago for many, many years, serving on the Association of Fundraising Professionals board and as fundraisers in the community. And John and I are now both retired. And he has a place in Puerto Vallarta. So I thought you guys would be really interested in hearing from him. John, welcome to Where's Babs.
Hey, thanks so much. It's exciting to be a part of this.
Well, thanks. And I know you're a traveler as well. You may have a place in PV and one in Chicago, but I know that you're also on the road enjoying. So
Right.
you retired in 2013, right?
I was very, very lucky. I actually got to retire when I was 58 years old. So I've actually been retired now, a total of 10 years. And a lot of that has been traveling. As you said, I have a real passion for traveling and have visited South America all over. I'm trying to do bucket list places like I did Easter Island, the Galapagos, Iguazu Falls. Everybody has to go to Africa before they leave this earth. It's just incredible. Was lucky enough to do that. And this September, I'm going to Scotland and Wales and England for a month. So yeah, just love travel.
Well, and I think part of it was obviously some love of Mexico because you
Oh,
found
yes.
yourself either traveling there. So tell us the story. How did you
Yeah.
find yourself in Mexico in general or in Puerto Vallarta specifically?
Yeah. Actually, I've been going to Mexico probably, Barbara, for about 30 years. Uh, I started with some friends of mine and we traveled together quite a bit. We did Cancun. I mean, that was the first launching point. Then did Cancun a couple of years, then went to Merida for a couple of years. Then we decided to go to Acapulco. And then we went to Puerto Vallarta and I said, okay, this is it. I'm I found where in Mexico I want to be. So I Cancun, in my opinion, is kind of like going to Miami Beach. I mean, you don't really get the Mexican experience. You don't get to dive into the culture and the food and that type of thing. And that wasn't for me. So when I found Puerto Vallarta, I was thrilled. Cobblestone streets, as you know, the old town. I live right in the old town area.
We call Emiliano Zapata or Romantic Zone.
Right, it is romantic zone. I refer to it as Old Town because it's part of the city that's actually from the original when it was a little fishing village. And for those people that don't know the history, uh, John Huston filmed Night of the Iguana there, and Richard Burton with his paramour Elizabeth Taylor. But they filmed outside of Puerto Vallarta, and then both of them ended up having homes there. And one of them you can actually stay at, or you can go and have brunch or have dinner at. It's called Casa Kimberly. The home is still there. It's been refurbished. It's beautiful. And then another secret down there, Casa Saint Angel. They have an incredible brunch. Now that was Richard Burton's home at one time too. So there's some just real Hollywood history there. And once they started going there, the other friends from Hollywood came, and then the next thing you know, it started growing and growing, and it's not a little fishing village anymore.
Well, it's interesting, the International Friends Group, IFC or International Friends Committee,
Yes,
has wonderful house tours and they tour
I
those
have.
homes and they're just wonderful. And not only the Hollywood homes, but they tour beautiful condos and
Right.
homes that have built up in Conchistinas and stuff. So you get a real sense of how Puerto Vallarta has built over
Yes.
the years and been rehabbed and renovated. And
On the home tour, all the money that the volunteers raise goes into local charities, the local orphanage. They do a big cleft palate program. So it's all volunteers. It's mostly Canadians and Americans, and they do it to return back to the community.
I did it as a tour guide. It was
Sure.
a great experience and a wonderful group of people. So it's a great 1,000 or 1,200 pesos. And
Yeah.
if we're running it on Tuesday mornings, it's a really great opportunity to see homes in Puerto Vallarta that you would never see. In 30 years, you're going down to Mexico and you end up in Puerto Vallarta and begin sort of a thought process of, I'm going to move here,
Right.
I'm on vacation here a long time.
Right. I mean, initially it was just for a couple of weeks, and then as started working on contract, I knew that at one point I wanted to buy something. I
Okay.
was tired of renting
So
Uh,
were you always renting down in Old Town, or were you kind of
I
moving around?
did. I did rent.
Okay.
All of my time was in Old Town. I love it because you can walk everywhere. And
I was just doing a video on it, and I said it's where you want to be because it's where everything's happening. But you just need to be
yes,
careful that you're not above a bar or a club or a restaurant
yes, I
or
made the
nearby.
mistake of rented next to a discotheque one year, and it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning before the sound got shut down. So you have
And
to be very careful.
I was telling people, I said it may be nice at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when you're walking through with a real estate agent.
Right,
You just need to know what's below you, above you, beside you, a block away from you.
exactly.
Otherwise, it's a place to be, and the prices have gone up too. So it is no longer,
Oh
you know,
yes, I bought it kind of in the middle of COVID. I looked for 3 years. I
okay.
knew that I was going to buy. I went to a realtor, said I want to pay cash, and he took me out for a couple of years. And then finally, when I was ready to make a decision, I had kind of decided that I was going to move and buy in Cinco de Diciembre, which is a neighborhood, a couple of neighborhoods away. Narrowed it down to 3 properties over there. He picked me up and he said to me, "Oh, by the way, a new place just came on the market. It's right here on Achille Cerdan, right near the cultural center. I haven't even seen it yet. Let's go see what it looks like." We walked in. I walked out on the balcony, looked out over that entire park area of the island to
Yeah.
the ocean.
Yeah.
And I said, "We're done looking. We don't even have to go look at those other properties." So
Good
I
for
wrote a
you.
contract and got it for a real steal, to be honest,
But
because
it's also in a good place where you aren't on top of a bar or a disco. You're close enough to walk, but not close enough to hear.
right. I do hear some of the activities at the cultural center, but what I hear from there is piano concerts and
Right. Folklore.
some
Yeah.
yeah, some great folklore music. So it's enjoyable. And
So you've only been living down there full time since 2019 or 2020, or
this will be my third season coming up,
got it.
being there 7 months. So I will go down mid-October, and then
Yeah.
I
And so,
stay till the end of May.
and you tell
So
us a little bit about the apartment. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. What did you end up finding in order to make a life down there for 7 months?
right. I got a 2 bedroom apartment. It's a building that's only got 30 units in it. It's fairly new. It's only about 4 or 5 years old. There's a pool on top. There's a gym inside the on the rooftop also. Uh, I got really lucky because in addition to having a walkable area, it's a newer building, so it's not going to have as many things go wrong with it right away. Uh, and I bought in the midst of COVID and got an incredible price.
It's
There's a
interesting.
shortage of properties to even buy.
I was there in 21, and the prices were just starting to creep up because, COVID was kind
Yep,
of starting to go away. I mean, Mexico never
right.
had vaccination or testing requirements, so people were coming throughout COVID, but now it's really jumped up. But it's interesting because one of the things I was saying on the video was, I was looking at brand new in Hotel Zone,
Yep,
and we found out during and after that I wanted to rent. It looked good on the outside, but it had huge sewage issues for Fluvia and a couple of
uh-huh,
other areas, and there was mud everywhere. The air conditioning units weren't working. I mean, there were a lot of issues with this new construction, which I would have
right.
loved. And so the fact that you moved in, and when I told people, I said, well, maybe you want to wait like after it's been open a year,
At
and
least,
then
right.
come back. So that
Now
five
we
years is like perfect because whatever was
right.
wrong got worked out.
That worked out exactly. So
Yeah.
very fortunate.
Okay, so 7 months and you just go down there and you just stay.
I do stay. My goal in life is to only see snow when it's on the top of a mountain, and I made the conscious choice to go see it. So I don't want to have to endure Chicago winter again.
And mine is follow the sun tour to stay away from
Ah,
for sure.
sure.
So tell me, give us a few reasons for our viewers, the top reasons to retire to Puerto Vallarta specifically, not just Mexico in general, but in
Yeah.
Puerto Vallarta.
A few things that hit me. I love the old flavor of the city. Uh, it does have sections that are new and that you would,
Yep.
you could choose to, some Americans and Canadians, they prefer that and they live in those areas.
Yep.
I prefer to live in the old town where you could walk to everything. And if you need to get to Costco, you can take the bus there. Uh, so the walkability, the great foods that they have there, the cost of living is just, oh, I mean, just for instance, if you go to a steak restaurant here in Chicago, it's going to cost you $150, $200 for two people. If you went to that kind of a restaurant in Puerto Vallarta, it might cost you 40 to 50 to $60 for two people. There's so many local restaurants. I try to support the restaurants in my little neighborhood. So I spend a lot of time when I typically, when I have guests, you go out almost every night.
Okay, so you're there for 7 months. What do you do with the apartment the other 5? Are you able to monitor?
I prefer not to. So a lot of my friends rent their places out, and they have management companies that take care of everything for them. And actually, some of the companies book it and lease it. I mean, you never even have to be involved with the booking. So
some folks that are retired, it can be an income producing.
It can be. I don't want
to them. And clearly, I've also talked about the weather down there, and I have to tell you, being there from May to October is something I don't want to do. If you don't mind heat and humidity, you're great. But I remember watching the storm come in and the river flooding and the water on the streets. December to May is great, or around there, maybe October. But when that heat and humidity switch goes off in December, it's
beautiful. And even though I stay to the end of May, it still starts to get hot and humid even in May.
For those of you who are looking, to buy or to rent, in December to May is kind of perfection. You can certainly push it either way, depending on where you're living and where you're coming from. I would bet that you have air conditioning in that unit.
Oh, yes. So I have 3 air conditioners supplying air conditioning. So don't really use it that much. I mean, maybe a few evenings in October, like you said. And then after the second week of May, I run it at night also. So.
And I find if you've got an apartment with some great air, you leave the windows and the doors open, and the breeze just comes in off the water, or out of the mountains, depending on where you're facing.
Right.
It's beautiful.
I can get a great breeze through the unit all year round. So yeah, it's great.
So in terms of moving, retiring, and living in Puerto Vallarta, anything else you'd like to share with our viewers who may be thinking of long stay, short stay, or retiring there?
There's an incredible amount of entertainment. There's actually a place called Act 2, but they actually have full stage productions. This year, for the last couple of years, they've done Mamma Mia, a full stage play musical. And then they have some incredible singers come in from all over the place. I'm not a drag queen person, but there's a lot of drag queen performers that do the gay circuit all over. You can see some incredible entertainment. And one of the best shows that arrived in Puerto Vallarta, I hope you got to see it, Barbara, is the air erotic. They're like Cirque du Soleil. My breath was just taken away.
You could go out every night in Puerto Vallarta.
Yes.
It doesn't have anything to do with drinking, or clubbing. Right. Opportunity to meet people and to enjoy and have friendships. And
the other entertainment venue is called the Palm. So it's the Palm and Act 2, and they have web pages that tell you all the kinds of entertainment you can go and see that they've had in the past. So yeah, a lot of entertainment, incredible restaurants. I mean, some of the most incredible rats. You go and they're inexpensive. The people are so great to you, the wait staff, the owner. There's one it's in my neighborhood. It's called Tony Please. Have you ever gone there?
I don't know. Maybe.
And he's been there 25, 30 years. He's there every night. He always comes up and talks to you.
Nacho Daddy was showing movies.
Yes.
Upstairs, and they have Spanish classes at Nacho Daddy. And then upstairs, this air-conditioned space. We got to watch these movies. It was great. Yeah.
And a Chicago local. I know this is going to be seen by a lot of people from all over, but we're both Chicago rooted. And Amy Armstrong, who has Chicago roots, performs at Nacho Daddy's. Yeah.
Well, this has been great. And John and I are going to share some more on living and enjoying and retiring in Puerto Vallarta. So make sure you tune in for the next episode.